Good morning, everyone. Let's get started. So good morning to all the attendees. If you could hear me well, if you could just type in yes again, I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Awesome. Thanks, guys. If you could also type in from where all you're joining in, the city that you're joining in, it would be great. It'll give me a good idea of, where all we are from. Okay, we have someone from Pune, Mumbai. Where else? Bangalore, Thane, great. Awesome. So here are some ground rules for this session. Just make sure. So what we've done is we've just made sure that the entire session is very clearly organized to make sure it helps you understand what is required for the entire process. Which also means if there's some internet issue from my end, it will connect in a couple of seconds. If there's a power issue or something, mostly I don't have such issues. But just in case, just hang on. And if you can't hear me and others can, then it's most probably a problem for your end. So just, help fix that, right? Just a little bit of background of myself. I'm Shreekala. I'm the co-founder of Crackverbal. I worked in HP for around 7 years. I worked with startups before I got into Crackverbal. I'm also part of the ISB Goldman Sachs Women Entrepreneur Program. I'm part of the Cherry Blair Foundation for Women Entrepreneurs. I have helped thousands of students focusing on masters and MBA abroad. So I understand what it takes for you guys to get into a good master's program, right? So I will take you through, various aspects. Here's a little bit about Crackverbal. Technically founded in 2006, we started, focusing on just two tests, GMAT and GRE. We also help students get into top schools. So if you look at the list down, a lot of schools that our students have got to. Some free resources to get you started. There's this online course that you could look at. If you're looking at, you could go and try out the trial course. Lot of good resources on our website, ebooks, videos, which gives us good explanation about OG and other aspects. You will get a lot of good help to understand what it takes to crack your GRE. We also have a very good vocabulary website. So if you could just go to wordtools.crackverbal.com, just register yourself. It's free for you guys since you're attending the webinar. Just go ahead and start using it. It gives you, it is a list of 500 top high frequency words for vocabulary. It will give you a very good idea of how you should go about preparing for your vocabulary. So, definitely you should use this. There are some prep strategies, again, good videos. Just go through our website to get a hang of this. Cool. So let's get on to the session. And here is what the agenda of the session is. The focus is, so I'll go through each and every step because I understand that backlogs is the main aspect of this program, but there is some precursor to understanding what it takes for you to get there. The reason why I have structured it this way is so that I cover all aspects when it comes to master's application, because now we are at June. I'm almost saying June because we are at the end of May. And most deadlines of good schools will start from November, December onwards, which means you should be done with your GRE by then, if you're applying with the GRE score, and you should be ready with your SOPs too, right? So what we'll focus on is what are timelines, how we should look at, what is the best timeline that works for you. What do admissions committee actually look for, right, when they give you an admit? How do you showcase your academic potential despite backlogs? And how do you choose the correct program for yourself, and obviously your application checklist? So we'll go through the entire thing today. I'll make sure that I cover your questions too. So if you have many questions, do make sure that you ask me whatever questions you have at every given point. So before we get started, I just want to take up a quick poll. Okay. This is my first poll. Okay. So can you just give me an understanding of where you are right now with respect to your GRE? Are you self-preparing? Are you already taking help and preparing, which means you're already working on with someone else for your GRE? If you have not started yet and need help, and if you're still thinking, let me know. Right, so I want all of you to please punch in onto this poll. Great. Awesome. So I have a couple of people self-preparing, some still thinking, not started yet. Great. So thank you so much. I'll keep using these polls, just to make sure you don't fall asleep. So yeah, on a nice Sunday morning, I think it's very important to keep you all awake too. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Cool. So let's get started. Let's look at the application timeline. So this is pretty much how you should be focusing on in terms of your plan. Right now, you should be focusing on taking your GRE. That's the most important aspect. In parallel, you should be focusing on researching on the universities you would want to apply to. Once you're done with that, when you take your GRE, you have an option to send your scores to 4 schools for free, right? So you have to make sure that you have those list of schools before you take your GRE, so that at least you could send those, details for free to them. Once you're done with that, you start working on your SOPs, your recommendation, getting your transcripts from your college, and finally, focus on your visa and finances, right? Once you get an admit, right? So this is how you should be, focusing on in terms of your timeline. So all of you, I'm not sure if you understand this, but let's talk about this. This is what are fall intakes and spring intake, right? Now here, I just want to again take a quick poll to understand when you plan to apply. So if you could just use this poll again, I want to understand if you're looking at fall 2020. When you say fall 2020, it's August next year, 2020, for which you have to apply this year. If some of them are applying for 2021, which is even later, or even later, even because you've not thought about it, you're just thinking when you should apply. Or maybe, are you in the first year college? Maybe you can just chat and tell me that whether you're in the first year college, final year college, which year are you, or are you working? If you could just type in that also on the chat window, that will help me understand, the kind of people we are talking to. Just type in the chat window, okay, there are some people who are working. Okay, there's someone who just graduated, second year of engineering, final year of BTech. Got it. So yeah, so there are some people who are, just graduated, some still in the graduation phase. So I guess I understand, which is the reason why it's later for you. But most of you are looking at fall 2020 intake, which is great. Thank you so much, guys. Right. So let's focus on what exactly is, fall 2020, right? So when you say fall, it starts in August. There are larger classes. Most of the programs that you look at have fall intake. So that is, mostly, the major thing that people look at. The more courses are offered, the acceptance rates are better for fall. Assistantships are higher in the fall intake, and option to finish courses faster in fall intake is higher. You also have a lot of importance for internships. Spring intake, which starts in Jan, are relatively smaller batches. Not all schools offer spring intakes. Not all courses have spring intakes. So you might want to, so say for example, if you're looking at some very specific specialization, you might want to go ahead and check whether the particular school offers a spring intake or not, because it's not very common, right? Assistantships are relatively less, but that doesn't mean that you don't have an option. You definitely have an option. But yeah, it's relatively less compared to fall. And at the same time, the options to get internships or finish the course early might not be that easy, right? So those are the, I would say, pros and cons of both fall and spring intake. Some people also say that, especially when you go to schools, you have an option where you take internships in the college itself, right? So, a lot of students do internships in college as, say, library attendant or, computer lab attendant and things like that. And you get paid by the hour. So what happens is people who join in August have, most of them take up that option. So people who join in spring have relatively less options for these in college kind of job opportunities, so that at least they can pay off their lodging costs, right? So that is something why spring is not something people normally look for. But then again, don't worry. I think if you have thought of both the options, please keep both the options open, because it's completely up to you. You just have to make sure that you look it through carefully and figure out what are the courses you need to apply to. All right, cool. So let's get down to what exactly, the admission committee look for. So what I've done is, with years of experience in working with a lot of students and a lot of admissions committees of top schools, I have kind of come out with 4 specific categories of what admissions committee actually look for, right? So these are the people who actually evaluate your application. They go through every aspect of your application to understand how it works, and whether it is, they'll give you points. So we don't really know how much points they give, but they give you points, or they assess your candidature based on these 4 aspects pretty much, right? So let's go through it one by one. So obviously, as you see here, we'll focus on the academic potential. So why do they actually look at the academic potential, right? So the first thing that they want to understand is to make sure that, are you even, academically strong enough to go through a master's program, right? So they want to understand that, whether you will be able to go through the course properly, whether you have the right aptitude to do that, right? So those are the aspects of which they would want to assess you on why, how your academic potential is, right? So let me take one more poll. This is a very important factor when I look at this topic especially. I want to know how many of you are worried about backlogs, right? So just put in the poll. Don't worry, it's not public. It's just for my eyes, so that I know and I understand, what are the kind of people we are looking at. I still have a couple of more people who have to respond. Guys, please do respond. Okay, I'm sure. So all of you here, pretty much most of you here are worried about it. So great. So don't worry, all of you, you don't need to feel that you're the only one. Everyone's on the same, boat. So, let's focus on what we can do to figure this out, right? Because see, what I understand, so all of you understand backlogs. They are also called incompletes in US, right? So what happens is, if you've not cleared a specific subject, or if you've cleared a specific subject, you do have an option to move to the next year, but you still have to clear those subjects to move on, right? So those are pretty much what backlogs are. Now, backlogs definitely are seen as, something which has affected your academic potential. So now because since it's done and dusted, you already have it, and these are not something that you have in your control, we have to figure out that how does that affect you, right? How does that make it, different for you guys to figure out that how do I look at my next course of action, right? Now that, I already have it, or I already had it, how do I figure that out? Right. So the first thing you have to understand is, now you have to work towards everything that helps you tell the admission committee that, look, though I had backlogs in my graduation, I still have the academic potential to do well in my career. Backlogs could be for various reasons. Maybe you didn't like the subject, or, you were just busy with other extracurricular activities, or, maybe you were just distracted or not serious, right? But obviously none of these reasons could be something that you could justify or tell the admission committee. So what you do is, number one, focus on your GRE, right? Now what happens is, GRE is definitely an exam that, puts everyone globally on a single platform. Now, what this tells them that whatever is my academic background, today, what you see on my GRE score will tell you that this is my potential, right? So I am good enough. So if you manage to get a very good score on your GRE, so GRE is out of 340. If you're applying to top schools, I would suggest look at anything above 325. If you're looking at, average schools, I would say 310 to 320 should be something that you should be looking at. So pretty much, I think if you're applying to, decent enough schools, that should be the kind of score you should be looking at. Apart from that, obviously TOEFL and IELTS, these are specifically a test of English speaking language. Don't fret too much about it. This is a fairly simple test. If you look at both these tests, they are divided into 4 parts: reading, writing, listening, and speaking, right? If you're already preparing for your GRE or you plan to prepare for your GRE, your reading is taken care of by the reading comprehension part of it, right? Your writing is taken care of by the AWA part of it, which is again part of GRE. Only listening and speaking is what, you don't have practice with. But then again, listening is like they will give you a small voice excerpt, and you will have to listen to it and answer questions based on that. It will be based on some it will be like an American talking, so it will be highly accented, so you just have to figure out what they are talking and answer questions accordingly. Same thing goes for speaking. The idea is to make sure that when you take the speaking test for IELTS or TOEFL, you should be able to speak clearly without, pronouncing words clearly, and, making sure it's grammatically correct, right? So these are the kind of aspects that they look at. Apart from that, the focus is to have, if you have experience. So I see some of you over here have experience, which means, your job work or your job experience will help tell them that, look, I have a good, I was taken in this company because I'm good at it, right? So you talk about that, and obviously well-written SOPs and very good recommendations from either your, professors at college or somebody at internship who guided you, or, if you're at work, maybe your manager or your senior, right? So these are the kind of things that will tell. So say, for example, if your recommender says that, he's great at his job, he's a quick learner, it was a new technology that he learned very fast. So then, it tells a school that, though he doesn't have great scores, he is a quick learner, or, he does things fast. So which tells him that, he's not bad academically because someone senior has told that, he's good at it, right? At the same time, at some point, pedigree of your undergrad institute, if you are from one of the top schools in India, definitely they know that these people have worked really hard to get there. So which will give you some extra points. And if you're working in a very good company, like any of those big companies, then pedigree of your employer, that will give you some extra points, because again, to get there, you've been filtered very well to get there. Any patents or research work, if you worked, or if you have done any technical papers at college or paper presentation or seminars, those could be things that you could highlight. If you're looking at some research programs in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, they do have a limit of how many backlogs they would accept. Right, so they have like a 14 backlogs allowed, or 15 backlogs allowed, or 10 backlogs allowed. So they do have, those kind of aspects. So when you are actually applying to some specific school, make sure that, you read up on these aspects also, because these will be important aspects for you to understand that whether you'll be a fit for the school or not. Right. So to summarize, like I said, if you have backlogs already, don't worry too much about it. Let's focus on what we need to do next to tackle it, right? Because see, there are so many people in the world, lakhs and lakhs of people in the world who are applying to master's program across the world, right? Any geography. Now, you cannot believe that, you cannot think that, none of them had backlogs. Obviously, people had backlogs, right? So don't worry about it. Let's focus on what we can do to fix it. Don't get disheartened that, just because I have backlogs, I won't be able to apply anywhere. We have to focus on forward thinking and figure out what we can do next, right? So that should be your complete focus. Clear so far? Any questions? If you have any questions, you can just type in or raise your hand. I can help you answer that, or type it in the Q&A window. Right, cool. So let me go to the next part. Right now, the other thing that schools value is your internships. So say, for example, if you're or at work, right? So they want to see your career progression. Say, for example, you have 2 years experience or 3 years experience, or, whatever years of experience, but you are very clear that you want to go for a master's because, you want to go for something more academic or technical, which means they would want to understand how has been your career progression so far. If you are in the engineering or if you're still studying, they would want to see your progress more in terms of whatever you have done so far in terms of, your academics, right? Is bigger company always better? Like I said, pedigree of your employer, roles and responsibilities, all those things will matter and it will help, right? So where all this, how do you showcase all this? So one aspect is obviously you upload your resume when you actually apply. The other thing that you need to showcase all this is in your SOP, which should not be a replica of your resume. So you have to be very sure of that aspect. And third is, on your application. So when you say apply, you have to go to the school's website, create a student login, and then start putting in data of whatever they ask for. So they'll ask you, okay, in the last semester, what was your score, or upload your transcripts, right? So these are the kind of things you would be, uploading and sending it to them. So they will assess you based on these aspects, right? The next thing that they look at is demographics. So which country you're applying, gender, industry, personal perspectives, unique interests or hobbies. So say, for example, if you are a guy who's, done your engineering, but you're interested in robotics and you've done some very cool projects in robotics. Or I know of, some of my students who were into, aeronautics club in their college, or they were part of some very specific clubs which were technically oriented in their college, right? So those kind of things will help, and all these things again will be something we will be speaking about in your SOPs, right? So what happens is this also adds a specific factor. Or say, for example, if you're applying to a very specific school that say focus, or a program that focuses on say cybersecurity, right? So say you apply to Purdue and you're applying to a very specific program in Purdue that focuses on cybersecurity, and as part of your college project you have done some very good projects on cybersecurity, or internships on cybersecurity, or you've worked in a specific company which focuses on that, then that becomes a very added advantage when you're applying to a specific school, right? So you have to focus on those aspects when it comes to the diversity aspect of it, to show your importance for that particular course. This is a very important part. You should know why you're doing the masters for. Obviously, we cannot tell them that I'm doing the masters because my parents want me to do, or because I want more money, or because I don't want to work right now, right? So all these are not things that we can tell them. They might be the reasons you would want to do it, but those can be the reasons. So you have to think through what you want to tell them, right? Like, what should be your short-term goal? What do you want to do immediately after your masters? So say, for example, you say that, look, immediately after my masters, I want to work with companies which focus on products such as Google, right? Or, in Google, they are focusing on so many products. There is Google Money, there is Google Pay, there is Google Analytics, there is Google Maps, right? So there is Google Gmail, right? So Google itself has so many products. Like that, every company has a lot of products, right? So you might want to focus on that. See, I'm interested in working with these kind of companies, right? Again, everyone know when you apply to the school, you also want to look at their website and see what are the kind of companies that the students who have passed from that school already, where are they employed, right? So then you want to see, okay, then you want to pick up a company, and then you want to look at what are the kind of products that company is involved in, and then say that, look, when I pass out from a master's program, I want to apply to these kind of schools or these kind of specific schools, right? So you might want to look at those aspects. Why do you want to go there is also a very important aspect. Like I said, again, we cannot say that parents wanted us and all that. We have to speak about what gained you that interest. Why are you so interested in getting there right now? Why are you the best person to reach there? So focus on your skill set. Say, what, I have done seminars, I have been great at this topic, or, those kind of things. So you have to try and showcase your plus points to tell them that I am the best person to get this kind of a admit, right? Why do you want to do a master's to get there? Again, you should be very clear why a master's is required. Why do you want to do a master's from this particular school to get there? Again, this also is something that you have to think through. And why do you want to go there now? They also want to know that, hey, well, why don't you just work for a couple of years and then go? Or they'll say, why don't you, just not, focus on it right now, and then, you can study for a while or work for a while or do something. So you have to even plan those things out, that why you think it's the best time for you to do it, right? So think through those aspects also. Next is, all this is fine. I know, the reasons why I want to go, but how do I choose the right program for myself, right? So how do I know that which is a program I want to apply to, right? So here, let me take one more poll. I would just want to understand which region you guys want to apply, or have you thought through it? If you could just take this poll and tell me what are the kind of regions. So I've put in a lot of regions. I have kind of spread out Ireland and UK separately because I see a lot of people, looking at that separately. But if you could just put in, I would get a better hang of where all you want to apply. So just take a couple of seconds. Please use the poll, guys. I still see a lot of people not attempting. Please go through it and tell me. If you're not decided also, it's fine. So don't worry about it. But if you have thought through it and if you're thinking about it, I definitely want you guys to apply, use a poll. I still have a couple of more people. Please. So I have put it as multiple choice so that if you have multiple regions that you have in mind, you can put that too, right? So that gives me a better idea. Cool. So there are a lot of people who are looking at Europe as an option. Not surprised. A lot of people who are looking at Canada also as an option. Again, I'm not surprised. Hopefully next to 2021, Trump will finish his term. It will make it easier for us. But yeah, let's see, we'll figure that out. However, what I want to tell you is, what you have to also understand is, when you're applying for a master's program, ultimately you're not really, you're competing with everyone who's there in your class, right? But what is important to understand is, when you choose a school of your choice, you also need to know that if the companies which are coming there and, people who are recruiting, right, from the particular college, are they sponsoring H1s? Right? How many people sponsor H1s? There are some companies that don't sponsor H1s at all. Like, for example, if you look at companies like Pepsi and Coke and all that, they don't sponsor H1s, right? So especially, from a lot of master's programs. So you want to see, okay, what are the companies? Amazon sponsors H1s, Google sponsors H1s. A lot of these tech companies sponsor H1s, right? So you also want to understand that, what are the kind of companies that sponsor H1s, because the data over there on that school website will be for a complete, class. They won't say that this is specifically for international students or Indians, right? So you might want to look at that aspect also. Right. So cool. So I have a lot of people looking for Europe and Canada. So see, this webinar is slightly generic. What we can do next is have a webinar that specifically focuses on Europe and Canada, so that you guys have more understanding how you should be looking at. Since today's webinar was to more focus on how you actually improve on this one weakness of yours. So, let's figure out how we should go about it. So how do you choose the best program for yourself, right? Now, see, what I want all of you to also understand is, most of you who are applying for the master's program will be taking loans, right? When you're taking loans, is most probably, maybe some part your parents will support, but most of it you have to pay off that loan, right? And when you look at paying off your loan, it is very important that you make sure that you do your research very well. Companies like Crackverbal, we will help you select that for you. We will help you figure that out for you. But at the same time, we have to make sure that you also know that what you want out of it, right? So it is very, very important that you look at these aspects also. So the four things that you should be focusing on in terms of choosing the right school for you is, one is specialization. Second is chances of admission. Third, obviously, budget. And fourth, the geography, right? Like we had in the poll, right? A lot of people are looking for Europe and Canada. So let's, maybe that is your geographical preference, right? So, but we need to understand, and we need to know that these are the four aspects that you're looking at when you're looking at choosing the right school for yourself. Now, if you're looking at a specialization, these are the four things that you should be looking at, right? First is, check if the department in your field of specialization in that particular school exists or not, right? Look at the electives that they are offered. What are the allied master's program that exists? So what typically happens on these master's programs is, you have some core subjects where they call it credits, right? Based on those core subjects, there are minimum credits that you need to have to get your master's degree from that particular school. I think for US, it is something like 32 credits or 36 credits. I'm not exactly sure of the number, but it's pretty much 32 or 36, right? So these are the number of credits that you need to have to get the master's degree, right? Now, there'll be some core courses that you have to take compulsory, but there'll be some courses which you can take as specialization. Like, for example, it might not be part of your department, but say, it might be part of any other master's department, right? So you can take some electives from other courses also, which is also extra credits for you. Fourth is you should look at the faculty and the PhD programs provided. You should look at what are the kind of faculty, because most of the faculty are also people who work with top companies as consultants, right? So what this also helps is, say, for example, if you look at MIT, right? MIT is one of the top schools, people, once you are into MIT, that's the brand name that everyone is looking for. They work very closely with, very top companies on their research. Georgia Tech works very closely with NASA, right? So they do a lot of projects. So in-house students work with NASA teams to figure out, work on specific projects with NASA. So what you also have to look at it when you're looking at the school, you have to look at, okay, what are the kind of projects they do, right? What are the kind of specializations do they work for? So we have to think through all these aspects when we are looking at which program to choose and which specialization to choose, right? Next, let's go through the geography part of it, right? Now, like you said, Europe, Canada, UK, people have, so here I'm just giving you a little bit of background here. If you're looking at public universities, they are slightly cheaper. So if you're looking at Caltech, for example, right, it is one of the topmost school and very wanted school for computer science, right? It's one of the cheapest too. It is like 17,000 per, for a year, and it's like cheaper than any other school you could apply to. But because it is cheap, it is also one of the most sought after, which also means that it is very, very competitive, right? So you will have to figure out that, okay, do I need to, if I'm looking at these schools, what is the kind of GRE score I need to get through and admit, right? Private colleges are slightly, expensive. At the same time, if you're from a big city or a small town, the cost of living also changes. So you might want to look at those aspects too, right? If you're looking at technology jobs or technology kind of roles, being in the West Coast would be an added advantage. Doesn't mean people with East Coast don't get in, but yeah, it will be an added advantage. If you're in the automobile industry, maybe, a German school would be a great option for you, because obviously it's great for automotive industry and there are so many schools over there. Master's programs in German schools are really cheap. You might want to explore those options. At some places it's even free for international students, so you might want to look at German schools too. The only catch here when you're looking at German schools is it's mandatory to know German if you are applying to these schools, right? So though the studying and all that will be in English, but if you are looking at a work opportunity over there, you need to know German. So this applies to any other European schools that you're looking at. Local language is very, very important when you're looking at a job. And especially when you're looking at applying to these schools, obviously you're going there because you want to work there also, right? So if you want, you can equip yourself with these kind of languages, which will help you get a job also very easily over there. Canada again is divided into two parts. One is the English speaking region and another is a French speaking region, which is the Quebec region. So if you're looking at schools, which are in the Quebec region, it will require you to, have specific knowledge in French, right? So again, to work there, only areas like Toronto and all that is English speaking region. So make sure you understand that also. Nowadays, Ireland is something that a lot of people are exploring, because a lot of these companies like Google and Facebook, all they have their, offices in Ireland. It's more like an operations and back office work, because though the core technology work doesn't happen, but there is, a lot of job opportunities that is coming up over there. So if you are looking at Ireland as an option, that could be something you would want to explore too. UK schools, again, so what I understand nowadays from UK schools is, if you're good technically, right, and whatever technology you're working on, right, whether it is, mechanical or computer science or anything, if you're good at it, the chances that you'll get a job is quite good, especially if you're looking at the top 10 schools, right? Again, see, you have to also understand that UK has this visa rule that within 2 to 4 months, if you don't get a job, you'll come back, right? So you want to choose your schools wisely. You want to choose how many international students are there in that particular class. So don't go very low in terms of ranking when it comes to UK, because, then you don't want to go to a school which is not even known in India, right? But you want to go to a school which is known generally globally, right? So you might want to choose those schools also wisely. Yes, UK is expensive because it's, if you, convert it to Indian rupees, it's much more expensive, to study there. So, but, if you're looking at low fees, maybe German schools could be an option. And if you get a great GRE score, the chances that you will get a scholarship is also very high, right? So just make sure. And see, the advantage of master's program is you also get something called internships, right? Or assistantships while you're doing that program, which pay off a lot of your lessens a lot of your burden when you are studying, or at least your lodging costs, right? And if you're looking at a graduate assistantship kind of a thing, you get almost close to $800 a month or $600 a month, which is like a good amount of money, right? Because you are then partnering with some professor for research, right? So those kind of things will help. If you're looking at healthcare, maybe Boston could be a good opportunity for you, right? So you might want to look at all these aspects when you actually go about researching the schools you would want to apply to. Then is the chances of admission. You also have to understand that this is a very important criteria that is part of choosing your school or getting into the school of your choice, right? If the school says the average score is 320 and you have a 320 plus, then it's a safe school for you to apply. If your score is 310 to 315 and the average score says 320, it's tough. And if you have less than 300, then it's pretty much very, very ambitious for you to apply, right? So see, one more thing I want to tell you all over here is, don't consider GRE as any other subject that we have studied till date, right? Number one, don't go with the thought process that you solve like 1,000 questions, you will be great. No. Don't think that I saw, I take hundreds of mock tests, I will be great. No, that will not happen. If you just take mock tests, only thing you will get better at is get better at a flawed approach, right? Your focus should be, even if you do small number of questions, your focus should be, how do I make sure that I understand what is the question asking me on, right? How do I understand that what is the test setter trying to test me on? How do I analyze the kind of mistakes I'm done? Am I doing a silly mistake? Am I not understanding the question correctly? Is that a conceptual problem? Or is there a problem with time management, right? So all these things are very important aspects that you have to understand. You have to approach this test very wisely, right? So just make sure that you focus on that aspect very, closely. Don't consider it as any other test that you have taken. See, it's a fairly simple test, especially with you guys as engineers. What you have to also understand is math will be a cakewalk, right? It's very simple, very formula based. If you're comparing it to CAT, GRE is super easy when it comes to quant, right? Verbal is definitely something that, we as Indians or international students do struggle a bit on, because it does focus on vocabulary. It does focus, say for example, sentence equivalence or the text completion part of it focuses a lot on the vocabulary part. But then again, the idea should not be that I have to mug up like 3,000 words, right? Because as with anything in life, the moment you trust your memory to vomit everything on that D-Day, that the day when you take the test, it's very tough to recollect things, right? It has to be something that you could relate to. So that's why I said, just go through wordtunes or crackable.com. It'll give you an idea of how you should remember words, right? Which you could use to remember other words too. So there are lists of 3,000 plus words, or that you could go through and technically memorize on GRE. But the whole idea is you should understand the context of how that words are used. You should understand, how they should be, applied and how they should be focused on, right? So that should be your complete focus when you're looking at GRE. Recommended mix for GRE is ideally, we tell them, because see, with every application, one part is the cost of GRE, right? That again, you have to pay, I think $185 or something for the test, right? Apart from that, every school you apply to, there is some cost associated with it in terms of admission, application fee. If you have any kind of tours, like master's tours in your city, make sure you go and attend that, because that, a lot of schools who come there, they waive off their admission fee also. So make sure, you keep researching on these master's tours that are happening, and so that you can, attend those master's tour, right? So that is one thing you should be focusing on. So make sure, don't focus on mugging up or memorizing words. The focus should be more on understanding them. Second, GRE math is very simple. As engineering students, that should not be too much of a problem. Third, vocabulary or, the GRE verbal is slightly different, but don't think that it is only about taking too many tests and that will solve your problem. Just make sure that you analyze the questions correctly, think through it properly. See, you are at June right now. You have, even if you dedicate 2 to 3 months for your preparation, I think you will be perfect, right? This is not like CAT or anything where people struggle and, work for years together, right? So just make sure that you spend, say, a month or two to figure this out and plan this out well. It just needs a little bit of diligent focus, but it's definitely doable if you do it in the right direction, right? So that is something that I would want you to focus on. Cool. So let's get on to the next part of it. Before that, let me just look at if I have missed anything. Great. Yes, this is very important. You have to understand that what is the budget you have when you're applying to any specific school. I mentioned about graduate assistantships, which is you work with a professor over there on a specific topic for research or anything of that sort. TA is teaching assistantships, right? So all these professors also, teach, say, undergrad students, like people who are doing your master in the graduation, right? So in that particular college, say, for example, you go to Virginia Tech for your master's, and there is obviously a bachelor's that is happening there. Now, these professors also teach there, and you are very good at one particular topic, and the professor really likes you, the way you explain it, the way you do it. And the professor says, look, I will give you teaching assistantship. Why didn't you take a few subjects of this topic in the bachelor's class? That could be one thing that you could do. Or you could help them create tests or assignments for them for, different, grades that they are looking at, right? So they also give, they here also you're paid for it, which means, again, it lessens your cost of, doing the masters. Like I said, scholarships are available for most master's programs. It's either TA or GA. If you have a phenomenal GRE score, so what happens is, one of the reasons for the schools to be ranked high is also the average GRE score of the class. Right. So if you look at the rankings, say, for example, if you go to, say, US News and look at all the top schools for, say, computer engineering, right? Or if you go to any other website, you say all the top schools for, say, mechanical engineering, right? What you will see is one of the criteria for the schools to be ranked high is the average score of the class, which is the average GRE score of the class. So the moment they see someone with a high score applying to their class, they want them in the class, and to make sure that that person joins, they will give them scholarships, right? Because once somebody with a 330 joins their class, automatically their average GRE score will go up. And once their average GRE score goes up, their ranking will go up, right? So they will give you scholarships to make sure that, you join the program, right? So that is how, scholarships work. A lot of loans are available, especially if you're looking at, top 100, top 20, top 100 programs. A lot of some good companies, you can reach out to us. We can tell you how to go about with the loans aspect of it. Loans also are available. Indian banks have loans. There are something called collateral loans or non-collateral loans. So you have to figure those things out, and also look at the living costs. So like I said in one of the slides before, that when you're looking at applying to a more expensive city, like if you're living in, say, New York, or if you're living in, say, one of the London, right? These are all very expensive cities. So you also have to understand that how are you going to manage your budget and the living cost and all that over there. So, make sure you think through those aspects also when you're looking at the budget part. Typically a cost of doing an MBA. So like I said, there are credit hours, so yeah, I have mentioned this over here. There are 36 credits that you need to have to do a master's. For each separate course that you take, they might charge you some extra, if you are taking some specific electives. But, pretty much this is how it works in American universities, right? This is like, I've kind of put a table to give you an understanding of how average it takes for you to do a master's abroad, right? This is more an average. Like I said, this is not, something that is, perfect, right? So this is more like an average. It differs from school to school. If you're applying to Carnegie Mellon, it is much more expensive than applying to, say, Caltech. Or if you're applying to Germany, it's cheaper because at sometimes some colleges it's even free.
right? So here I've put an average of USA, the tuition cost, what will be your living cost, what is the visa required, and after graduation, how much time you have to, manage to figure out the job part of it. So if you look at US over here, it says, you need at least, so most US programs, especially if you're looking at a technical program, they are called STEM programs, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? STEM programs gives you an extra 1.5 years of OPT period, which is a time to give you a chance to find a job after your graduation, right? So that is something, that you would want to look at or you would want to avail. The second thing is, if you look at Australia, this is again the tuition fee over there. Again, you have some 18-month period. Canada, depending on the course duration of the course that you're looking at, it ranges from 1 year to 3 years of work permit, which means you get 3 years to work over there, based on the duration of the course you're applying for. UK has something called Tier 2 visas. More flexibilities are introduced. You would want to go through the UK immigration website to, understand. See, these things keep changing, so we have to make sure that we are up to speed in terms of how these things work. So, we help you on these understanding aspect of it, so you can, reach out to us when you get there. Then it comes to Singapore. They have something called LTVP, which is a long-term visitor pass, which is a 1-year non-renewable option to work over there, post your master's. Then you have New Zealand, where you can work for 2 years, right? So these are pretty much the top, regions that you can look at. Yes, I didn't put Germany and all that over here, but yes, we could look at those options also, later. Now let's get in part of what exactly happens when you're looking at, the kind of applications you're looking at, right? I'm sorry. Do you guys can hear me, right? You guys can see the screen, right? Just say yes or no. Cool. Awesome. Just wanted to make sure all of you are awake. Okay. So yeah. So, okay, there is nothing that I want to focus on right now. Right, cool. So let's get on to the application part. So everybody says, okay, GRE, and after GRE, there is application. How do I apply? How do I go about applying, right? So this is a checklist that pretty much you need to understand, you need to have when you actually apply for any program, right? So first thing is, obviously, like I said, you have to go to the school website. You have to create a login over there, and then you have to fill in all the important information. So first is, you need to have a completed application form. There is an application fee. So it ranges, like I said, $50, $60 it will be. Some schools will have essays that you need to write, or some schools just have SOPs. SOP stands for Statement of Purpose, which means they want to know why you are applying, right? Then you have resume or CV. You have 2 letters of recommendation. You have official transcripts that you could apply for. A portfolio writing sample. So say, for example, if you have written a technical paper or something like that, and if you're applying for a very, strong technical course, maybe that could be something you could look at. Sometimes some schools, depending on the program, they are interviewed also, but not all. Then obviously IELTS or TOEFL. So TOEFL is mostly for US schools, and IELTS are more for European schools. Most schools take both the program, except both the scores. So, you could look at taking either one of the tests. You don't really need to take both the tests, right? One thing also I want to tell you over here is, see, what you have to understand is GRE is a different test, TOEFL is a different test, right? Now, GRE is definitely, requires much more effort than, say, TOEFL, right? Or IELTS, like I told. Which also means that schools that say that I don't need your GRE score, just apply with your TOEFL and IELTS score. You also have to understand that means the level of competition or the level of filtration that they do is very low. Because since these two are very simple tests, it is very easy for people to get like a 8+ or something on IELTS, or, easy for people to get like 100+ on TOEFL, which is, in terms of the scoring. Now, the moment they say only IELTS or TOEFL, then you also have to be very clear and clearly understand these are not very top schools. They are either 2-tier schools or 3-tier schools. So I'm not saying they are bad or anything, but you have to understand that you have a very good clarity on whether you want to apply to good schools, where the chances of getting a job are higher, or you want to apply to 2-tier, 3-tier schools because you just want to land up there.
right? And there is a very high chance that you'll struggle with jobs, right? Because that's how it is, right? And plus, see, when you are applying, really putting in your best effort to apply to good programs, it's also very important that you are also in a class where everyone is giving you that competition to perform, right, the best, right? So you don't want to be a rock star in the class. You want to really work towards becoming a rock star, right? So those are the kind of things you should understand when you're looking at applying to schools who take only IELTS or TOEFL, or who take GRE also, right? Obviously, people who take GRE scores also, and decent enough GRE scores, are the schools which are ranked also better in terms of their ranking, right? So you might want to understand and think of that aspect, right? So let's go through this one by one. Other part of it is, when you look at SOPs, one thing I want to tell you over here is it should not be a replica of your resume. At the same time, they should be written by yourself. Don't get your SOPs written by anyone, right? You can take help from people saying that, tell me how. So we at Crackable, we have a MS application service where we help students structure their SOPs, fine tune their SOPs, review their SOPs, but we make sure that the first written draft comes from them, right? Because it is even unethical to write SOPs for people. And also for don't go to any consultants who say that you give me some money, I will write SOPs and give it to you. The moment you hear people saying that, remember that these are also people who are writing the same SOP to 400 other people. So all the same SOP is going to the schools you're applying, and then you just get rejected because people are saying that, yeah, this fellow is definitely copied, but I've got exactly similar SOPs from 100 other people too, right? So make sure that when you're investing in things like that, you have thought through those aspects, right? So make sure you look at those aspects. When you're looking at recommenders, when you're applying to a master's program, if you are applying for if you're studying right now, you can either get a recommendation from your professor, you can get a recommendation from a guide you worked with for an internship, or a project guide or anything of that sort. So that could be one person, one or two people, pretty much they look at 2 recommenders. So you could look at that. If you're also working, and if you've already spent too many years working and you can't really get in touch with your professors, then you can get 2 recommenders from your working people, your work peers or seniors or manager, right? You can look at that. And here the focus should be more on, so see, remember that recommendations should not be like, this guy is, XYZ is very hardworking, and, he's very good at this discipline, and he pays attention in my class, hence I recommend him, right? These are not how recommendations are written. Recommendations should point on specific examples about you. They should say that, this guy, I remember he was sitting in this class and he asked very intelligent questions. He scored very high in that particular subject. I personally, was very impressed by the way he was thinking through those topics in that particular subject. Or say, for example, he talks about some project you have worked with, and he's talking about how you are good at learning, or how you are a fast learner, right? So those kind of aspects are something that will be important. So you should look at those aspects also, right? So pretty much those are the things. Let me just go back to one more thing about, if I have just missed anything, let me just look at anything that I have missed to see if I would want to talk about something cool. So I just want to talk about one more thing, since all of you are as part of, the GRE aspect of it. I want to also understand what are your major pain points when you're looking at GRE, right? So I just want to launch a simple poll. If you could tell me what are your major pain points. Is the verbal section the problem? If quant section is the problem, or is both the problem, or since you've not started, you don't know, right? So I want all of you to please attempt to this poll. Okay. Couple of more left. Please attempt the poll. Okay. So the maximum people say not started, so don't know. But, I unanimously see that a lot of people, sorry, not unanimously, but I see a lot of people, almost 40% of the people saying verbal is the problem. Yes, I understand, since, we follow a very different method of how we go through the English or the math. Verbal is definitely, the major pain point for most of the people who are applying for the GRE, right? So some says quant is also a problem. Believe me, it's just, you need to focus on a little bit of preparation for this. Go through some basics. I think you should be good to go, but I think quant is still tackleable. Verbal, yes, requires a lot of more hard work and more importance, right? So great, I understand that, right? I also want to understand one more thing in terms of people who are looking at masters and help. I just want to understand, if you are looking at help, what are you looking at, right? So are you looking at only help for GRE, or are you looking at masters and GRE, or if you're looking at masters only, or you've not thought about it yet, right? So just make sure you attempt this poll too. I'll give you a couple of minutes for that. So I'll be taking in questions here. I will just go through the questions that people have already put. So, okay, a lot of people are looking at masters per GRE option because they believe that they really need help. Perfect. We are looking at helping you with respect to the entire process, which means we want to make sure that, you focus on your GRE as well as your masters too. Cool. 75% of the people want to look at masters plus GRE because they want help throughout the process, right? Cool. So before that, let me just take up questions. I want to tell you how we will help you. But before that, I want to take up a few questions over here. There's someone who says, so if you have any more questions, please type it on the chat window. I would be able to help you. There's someone who says, I have 2 backlogs in the first year of the engineering and subjects not related to my branch. How will it affect the chances of admit to get into top schools in US for computer science? Like I said, pretty much focus on a very good GRE score. If you're already in your engineering right now, make sure that in the next couple of years that you focus on, doing some technical paper presentation, you do some seminar kind of a thing. Make sure you take initiatives on academic related subjects, right? Or say, for example, if you are part of the Computer Society of India, look at what are the, initiatives that they take, more academic oriented, because, see, whatever, like I said, whatever is done and dusted is done. So let's focus on what we can do next. Right. So, there are various ways that I've spoken about in this session where, these backlog effects can be, eliminated. So good GRE score, focusing on these, seminars. So just, put in that extra effort to do those things, right? Someone says, I need a good GRE score for aerospace and or mechanical engineering. Which field should I choose in future with perspective in mind? Also, which country would be good for me, US or Canada? Also, my GPA is slightly low. I have completed my mechanical with 60%. Can good GRE score compensate for a low GPA? Absolutely, right? A good GRE score will definitely compensate you for a low GPA. Also, I want to tell you that, see, there is a website called WES.org. This website is, a lot of these schools, when you apply, they will ask you to evaluate get your transcripts evaluate into the 4-point GPA system. Because see, in India, what happens is, a lot of people, we all have different grading systems, right? So say, for example, if you're from Maharashtra, your grading system will be different. If you're from Gujarat, it is different. Or for example, if you're in Karnataka, it is different, right? So to put all of you in a similar grading system, some colleges will ask you to go and upload your transcripts and marksheets on WES.org. It is a paid thing. I think they charge you around $65 or something, but you don't need to do it right now. But maybe if they ask you, especially the schools you're applying to, you might want to get it evaluated so that they tell you that in the 4-point GPA system, what is your GPA, right, compared to everyone, globally, right? So to answer your question, yes, GRE is the only thing that can focus on your GPA. And like I said, the other things that I spoke about, focusing on something more academic. Say, for example, if you're already working right now, maybe taking some online courses, which is in line to the kind of specializations you want to take, right? So there are these lot of online courses right now available. See if you can take a specific online course. So again, don't take like 10 online courses, but take a 1 or 2 online courses that really help you, improve your understanding for the particular subject that you want to apply to, or specialization that you want to apply to, right? So focus on those aspects of how you would want to go about it. Also, there's someone who's, so next question is, someone is asking me that I got a 305 on my first attempt. I have decided to retake the GRE and I can secure a good, I haven't done internships. I have almost 2 years. So one thing here is your experience is calculated by the time you join the course, which is if you're looking at fall 2020, your experience will be calculated till August 2020. Right now, to answer your question, can I get a good college for MS? Yes, you can. Focus on a very good GRE score. See if you can, take some specific help on areas where you are lacking. 305 is slightly on the lower side, so you just want to make sure that you have a higher GRE score to apply to top schools, right? So think through, where exactly you're going wrong, right? So maybe, you want to talk to some academics team. If you want to take some specific help, you can reach out to us. We can, we have a personal tutoring option too. So we can help you with those aspects too. So, we can help you out. Someone's asked, how many universities do UK and USA accept? I really didn't understand what you mean by, you can apply to as many schools as you want. If you want to do a master's in artificial intelligence and you do not have a background in artificial intelligence so far, and if you feel that, you have some backlogs and, so like I said, focus on a very good GRE score. See if you can do some, online courses on some certifications to improve your understanding of artificial intelligence. Go through the curriculum of these masters in artificial intelligence, because these are also very sought after courses today, right? Which also make it very highly competitive. So you might want to look at those aspects also. Someone says, can I get into McGill University with a backlog and a high GRE score? So like I said, they have this, they do look at the GPA, especially when it comes to Canadian schools. They say that they need to have a minimum GPA or something like that. So you might want to look at that criteria, especially for McGill. But if you have a high GRE score, maybe you can, right? We could rarely look at it and give it a shot, right? So you might want to evaluate those options too, right? So let me get on to my next slide, where we have a specific option for people who are attending this session. We have something like an offering where we are looking at a GRE plus master's option, like most of you were looking at as displayed. So this includes a profile evaluation that will help you understand your profile. This will also help you select the right master's program. So again, this is, an option that you have to avail. Then you can work in GRE in parallel. You can work on improving your profile and obviously craft an amazing amazing SOP, which is admit ready. Right? If you're looking at availing this and trying to understand how much would be the fee to, avail this, you can just write to info@crackbubble.com and with the subject line of admit 2020 to get an understanding of, how do we help you go about this, right? So like I said, in this entire session, we go through every aspect and we have worked with so many students over the years, getting into good schools, right? So based on your GRE score, based on figuring out how we improve your GRE score, if you've already taken GRE or if you've not taken GRE, how to get you to that level, plus helping you select the right programs. When I say improving your profile, suggesting you the right courses that you could take to strengthen your profile, and obviously craft a good SOP, right? So all these things are what we look at. If you are looking at help, please write to info@crackbubble.com with the subject line admit in 2020 and we will help you. If there's any other question, please post. I'll wait for a couple of seconds and then we are done. Any other questions? Okay, there's one question I missed out. I have backlogs, but a decent GPA. One second, I can read the whole test. Okay. And an above 315 GRE. What if you have backlogs and a decent GPA, but above That's okay. That's exactly what I said, right? Don't worry about the backlogs. The whole session was to tell you that how do you focus on these backlogs, right? So you have a lot of options to, plan out how you could improve these backlogs, right? Someone says, how could a drop year affect my chances? See, first thing you have to understand is be very honest about it, right? So don't think that, now that you've already taken a drop year, you can't really do too much about it since it's already again done and dusted. Just be honest about it, but also tell, the school that what I did in that drop year, right? You have to tell why it was a drop year, or what you did in that drop year, what difference did it make to you, how did you become a different person after the drop year, right? So don't think that just because it was a drop year you can't do anything. Then you have to think of what are the other things you can do to figure those things out, right? So uh, uh, being honest is the best option. That I think, a lot of people take drop. See, in India it might not be, people think that drop year and all that, but see, a lot of people do it, right? In, say for example, people who study for IITs, right? Or they take after 12th, they take 1 year drop, right? So it's okay to take a drop year. Don't feel very bad about it, but at the same time, be very conscious of being honest. At the same, and also tell the admission committee that what did you do in that drop year that has helped you become a different person today. Maybe you did some extracurricular work, or you were studying something, or whatever you're doing, you have to create that aspect of you, right? So to figure out that how what you can do with that drop year. So don't worry too much about it. GRE could be something that could help you, and being honest with something. So one thing when it comes to at least foreign schools is they will trust you, right? So whatever you say, they'll trust you, and it's always good to be honest, right? So it's they want to see people who are honest. They want to see people who are diligent. They want to see people who are academically good now, right? So we can always work around it and plan how to focus on the schools, right? So make sure you look at those aspects too, right? So this is pretty much I have for today. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming on a nice Sunday morning. You had an option to sleep, but you did put in a lot of effort today to come in and attend this webinar. I really appreciate, and please go through this recording of this video will be available on our YouTube channel, so you can go to youtube.com/crackable videos. It will be available the coming week. You could always revisit and walk past through something to understand this better. If you have any questions, please write us to info@crackable.com. And if you are looking at help for Masters in GRE, please write to us at info@crackable.com with admit 2020. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that you came in. Thanks, Suraj. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Lord. Thanks a lot for the appreciation too. Thanks, guys. Have a nice Sunday. Bye-bye.